This is TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and the State of the Saints podcast is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Over 2 million men worldwide choose Manscaped for all their below-the-waist needs. For those that love the Lawnmower 3.0, well, I got news for you. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The new trimmer even allows you to customize your trim all through additional guards lengths, sizes 1 through 4. And looks-wise, it's sleek with a two-tone matte and gloss finish, even features a hot foil stamp, black chrome Manscaped logo. Show your mower off loud and proud. Go to manscaped.com, use the promo code State of Saints, and you will save 20% off of the Lawnmower 4.0 as well as other Manscaped items. That's manscaped.com. Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And as y'all can see, for those that are checking this out on YouTube, you can actually see me today. I've seen that a few people had some issues. They talk about they wanted to see me on camera, so I appreciate you all wanting to see my beautiful face, all right? But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And, you know, as you all know, the Saints were on a bye week this past weekend. And I had a good weekend, man. I'm not going to lie to you. This was a really good weekend. I did some work at the radio station. We took part in the Myrtle Beach Jazz Festival that was down here in Myrtle Beach. And also, man, got opportunity to spend some time with the family, man. We took Paxton to the pumpkin patch, man. And him and my wife, they had a beautiful time, man. It's a picture of them, man. They were on a hay swing, you know, so they had a good time, man. And anytime, you know, I get opportunity to spend some time with my family, man, it's a blessing, man. I love both of them. And, you know, it's not, you know, not many Sundays during a regular season I get opportunity to do some stuff like that with them, because I'm focused on the game and doing a podcast. So it was a great weekend, nonetheless. But I hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody didn't pull their hair out or die of boredom because there were no Saints games. But, you know, we're back to it now. And until, you know, hopefully the Saints make the playoffs and on beyond, we will not be without Saints football for a while. So, but we are talking about some of the intriguing storylines that are taking place with the New Orleans Saints organization, and it has a lot to do with a lot of players coming back. The New Orleans Saints have a record of 3-2 as of right now, ahead of that bye week that they just took, and now we're looking at some of these key players being able to come back and contributing to the success of this team down the stretch. And you know, the Saints got a little bit of a favor to them, you know, by the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings beating the Carolina Panthers this past weekend, beat them in overtime, putting the record at 3-3 and giving the Saints a half-game lead over the Carolina Panthers. So the Saints are still in the thick of things, even though, you know, they had a lot of guys that were out and they were 3-2. So you got guys coming back, guys like Quan Alexander, Tre'Quan Smith, Michael Thomas. Don't know exactly if these guys are going to be playing in this game coming up next Monday versus the Seattle Seahawks. But we know for sure that those guys are going to be coming back in the future. So that's a plus. But the question is, can these guys turn the New Orleans Saints offense into a high-powered offense, the ones that we're normally used to seeing? I don't think a lot of people are used to seeing such a stagnant offense by the New Orleans Saints. And before I get into that, I want to thank Mocha for donating $10 to the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much, Mocha. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here as well. But back to the offense, we're not used to the New Orleans Saints offense being stagnant. A lot of people don't remember the Saints offense being stagnant at all. I can remember that because I've been a Saints fan for I don't know how long. So I've seen the ebbs and flows of the New Orleans Saints and how they work. But people are used to the Saints putting up points. People are used to the Saints having a high-powered offense and really imposing their will on respected defenses. So hopefully when you get guys like Tre'Quan Smith and Michael Thomas back, that will help out Jameis Winston. I do think that the Saints have some guys that can contribute. I don't think any of these guys that were playing the first 5 games are going to be household names when it comes to being at the wide receiver position. They're not going to be doing American Express commercials or even selling Starbucks coffee. But what they are going to do is they're going to be some solid role players for the New Orleans Saints. I say this all the time. Everybody cannot be, Michael Jordan. Everybody can't be LeBron. And everybody can't be Kobe. You got to have some guys, that are some role players. You think about this. How many championships would Jordan had if John Paxson didn't hit that 3? Steve Kerr didn't hit that 3? You need guys like that. So LeBron, Ray Allen, what I'm saying, when he was at the twilight of his career, knocking down a 3. So what would those guys be? So it's necessary to have these role players. And if you're a fan of any of those teams that I mentioned, you know how important those guys were for the success of that team that make them a champion. So I do think that there's a place for guys like Marquez Callaway. There's a place for people like Deontay Harris and Kenny Stills. There's a place for them. Now, they're not number 1 receivers, but I do feel like if you get Michael Thomas back, a guy who demands the double team, it is going to open up opportunities for other guys to make plays. I just think that Marquez Callaway is a good wide receiver, but he's not a wide receiver that demands a double team. And when you have a wide receiver and you're playing as a wide receiver number 1 and you're not a wide receiver number 1, you're still going to get the respect of a number 1. So I do think that there's opportunities for these guys. As far as Tre'Quan Smith is concerned, look, I don't have an issue with Tre'Quan Smith. I think Tre'Quan Smith is a very good, solid wide receiver. I think that he's a good route runner. I think he's a above average blocker as a receiver. But I just think that anybody that thinks that this guy is going to go for 200 yards, I just think that's wishful thinking. I think that Tre'Quan Smith is who he is, and that is a solid receiver. If you need somebody that can get you 5 yards on the 3rd and 5, he can get it for you. If you need a guy that can run a route, and maybe get open and catch the ball, he can do that for you. If you need a guy and you need a stretch play by a running back and you need a wide receiver to block so that running back can get a lane, I think he can do that too. But I think if you're asking him to be Antonio Brown, if you're asking him to be OBJ, or if you're asking him to be Michael Thomas, I just think that you're wasting your time. And that's just simply wishful thinking. But there is a place for him on the New Orleans Saints team. And I do feel like there'll be a better offense when Tre'Quan is on the field, because I think he has a little bit more of a chemistry with Jameis Winston than any one of these wide receivers. Now, you can make an argument that Callaway probably has it because, Callaway worked out with Jameis in the offseason, and you also transitioned to the regular season, and, he was the guy that, Jameis counts on in those tough situations. When Jameis is trying to make a play, he throws the ball up. Hopefully, Marquez Callaway can come down with it. And 9 times out of 10, he's shown that he will. But when it comes to the chemistry, I think that Tre'Quan Smith chemistry with Jameis is right there as well. Tre'Quan in interviews, he talked about how he stayed, at Jameis's house. He stayed in a guest house. I'm saying? He worked out with him. He did he traveled across the country to be there to work on chemistry with them. So I do think that that's a plus. Now, the only issue that I have is when it comes to Michael Thomas and the chemistry with Jameis Winston. Now, of course, we don't know what these guys are doing behind the scenes. We only know what's presented to us by the media reporters or guys, that are insiders, okay? But we don't know the chemistry between Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston. But I would like to believe that these guys are trying to work on some level of a rapport. And even though Michael Thomas hasn't been playing, he still has been going out there doing a little bit more behind the scenes. So hopefully by doing more behind the scenes means that he's trying to create a chemistry or, some type of camaraderie with Jameis Winston. But Jameis Winston coming off the bye week, as of right now, he has 13 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and that's the best thing that you can ask for. I think that once these guys come back, you're going to see some pressure being alleviated off Alvin Kamara, and maybe some pressure being alleviated off Jameis Winston to just do the right things at the right time, and everybody just, critiquing everything that he does. Now you have some guys that can get open, and, he can get the ball where it needs to be. And also we can be able to sustain some drives. That's been the issue with the New Orleans Saints. You got to be able to sustain drives in order for you to win some of these football games. You don't want to wear down your defense by, getting 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So hopefully they can be able to sustain drives, put emphasis on the running game, and also be able to add somebody back there to help out and alleviate the pressure of Alvin Kamara toting the ball at an alarming rate. So that's my opening dialogue to you all. I'm going to go to the comments. Once again, thank you all for checking out the show. Those that are following in right now, I'm going to go ahead and read some of your questions and comments. We're going to start. Let's see. We're going to start with Leaping Cat Productions. He says, offense doesn't need saving. They're scoring. Jameis is becoming more comfortable. Once he has full grasp of the system and the D gets right, blitzing is game over. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think they need saving, but here's the thing. The more offensive weapons that you can have, the better. If the more people that you can have out there that can win their matchups, the more high-powered and the more potent your offense is going to be. So adding guys that are familiar with the playbook, familiar with the offensive concepts, and guys that have been here for an extended amount of time. And also, these are two guys who have been battle-tested with this team. These guys have stepped up and shown that they can actually make some plays. As much as we critique and criticize Tre'Quan Smith has shown up in some key games. I can think about that game versus San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago. I mean, he put the go-ahead touchdown on the board. I mean, it wasn't his fault that the defense collapsed and Robbie Gould went out there and kicked the field goal. I mean, he put the team in position to win that football game by catching that pass. And also, just a couple games in the past. So when you got guys that are familiar with the offense, familiar with what they need to do, and also have played in some of the biggest moments that we've seen from the New Orleans Saints over the past 5 years, then I think that it's always a plus. So what they have right now, they're getting the job done. But, I would like for them not to just get the job done, but be effective, okay? Because even though you're getting the job done, that doesn't always equate to success, okay? Look, I think that we're all satisfied with the 3-2 record because at this particular time, all these guys that were out, we were just happy to get some wins. Okay, stay afloat, right? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like if you got a hole in your boat and you're close to shore, right? You know what I'm saying? You're trying to get this boat to the shore so you get up out of it, okay? You know what I'm saying? So you're just trying to do everything that you possibly can to not sink. And that's exactly what the Saints are doing. They won these games. They won 3 out of these 5 games, and they just stayed afloat. And that's what you need to do. So hopefully when you get some more guys back, you can be more of a potent offense. Now, I mean, the offense is okay, but we want them to be more than okay. They will make a big impact. Mike T alone demands respect on the field, plus he gives that slant pass Jameis can make right now. Yeah, I think that Michael Thomas is an elite receiver. I think we all can agree with that. And him being on the field, rather he is a decoy when he was hurt last season, or he's 100%. He is going to demand respect. And we can talk about the quick slants and all that kind of stuff there, and that's good. But I mean, a lot of people don't give this guy credit for being an overall receiver, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, because they didn't really see it. And it didn't have much to do with him. It had a lot to do with the limitations of Drew. So it's almost like with Deontay Harris, right? Deontay Harris is catching a lot of down the field passes, those 72-yard touchdowns, the 53-yard touchdown in week 1 versus Green Bay. I mean, a lot of people didn't know that this guy had this type of talent, to be a downfield threat because he wasn't utilized in that capacity when Drew was there because of the limitations once again. So I just think that people can get false sense of reality of what a player or who a player actually is when they are limited in an offensive capacity. See, some people just look at Deontay Harris as just a really good special teams guy. But if you look at the way that he plays, and that the fact that Jameis can utilize a strength of his, we're seeing that Deontay Harris is way more important to this offense than a lot of people may have gave him credit for when he was going to training camp or even this all season. I think that anybody would have thought or said that Deontay Harris would have been the most important receiver on the Saints team after 5 games of the season. I think we all would have thought that that person was crazy. Even, I would have thought that they were crazy. But, I mean, it is what it is. So sometimes you need guys that can utilize every tool in your tool belt, so to speak. And when you have a quarterback like Jameis that can make all the throws, you're probably going to see a side of Michael Thomas that you really did not see for a very long time. And I think a lot of people don't look at Michael Thomas and remember, like, when his rookie season, I mean, Michael Thomas was getting passes down the field. He was out there, getting behind defenders. So it's not like he doesn't have that capability. So I think that people may forget about that. But if they forget about it, oh, well, that just means that he's going to eat. Chemo says, who that TJ and family? Chemo, what's going on, man? Thank you for being here. Jerry giving a shout out to Chemo. And Lily says, is it true Wilson will not be playing in the next week's game? Lily, that is true. He's put on IR. So he's with IR, you have to miss at least 3 football games. So I don't expect for him to even be back after those 3 games. They put him on IR to probably free up a roster spot so they can probably add another quarterback or another skilled position player. So he's not going to be in that game on Monday night, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that the Saints should go into that game lackadaisical. Oh, we don't have to play Russell. They should come in with the same type of energy as if Russell Wilson is playing, because if they don't, Seattle can beat them. Who that talking said just had the Rice Festival out here in Crowley, Louisiana. Who that? What's going on to Crowley, Louisiana? The Rice Festival, very famous out there in that area. So shouts out to you, man. Said no Russell Wilson. That is absolutely correct. Also want to thank for the $5. I want to thank Roger. Roger, thank you very much for the $5. Says, what up, TJ? Watching you from New Jersey Turnpike. What did I miss? Well, we about 18 minutes into the show. We just talking about Michael Thomas here. Michael Thomas and Tre'Quan Smith coming back and the impact that those guys can bring. Speaking of making an impact, special shout out to Big Q. I was on Big Q's show on Friday night. I came on to the show. He was nice enough to have me on the show. We talked some Saints football. So I just want to give a shout out to Big Q. Always a good time, hooking up with Big Q. And, he does an outstanding job over there. Definitely going to get Big Q back on the State of the Saints podcast to talk some Saints football. And I'm excited about that. Ryan says, no pass rush can win you games against mediocre quarterbacks, but we won't win games, especially this stretch we have coming up, if we can't produce. Can't wait for Onyemata to come back. Ryan, you're absolutely right. And that's probably one of the biggest issues I see that the Saints are facing. The Saints have been winning in spite of the fact that they haven't gotten a pass rush. You have seen some guys getting hurries. You've seen guys getting pressures, but they haven't been putting the quarterback on the ground. In some cases, the quarterback has had so much time to deliver the football. Now, that is something that is very worrisome to me. You got to find ways to get sacks. You got to find ways to get pressure on these quarterbacks because, like you said, Ryan, the gauntlet is only going to get harder. They got some really relatively mediocre, relatively easy quarterback play over the last 5 games. So, I mean, you got to be able to step it up. You got to be able to get some pressure on the quarterbacks. That is definitely something that the Saints are going to have to work on. Derek says, why am I seeing articles about trading Michael Thomas? I'm sick of seeing them. Well, I think that if you're still seeing articles about trading Michael Thomas, maybe people don't have something to write about. Maybe they just feel like, maybe if I mention Michael Thomas being traded, maybe somebody will read it. But, I mean, regardless to whatever that person's method to their madness. Michael Thomas isn't going anywhere. Michael Thomas is going to be a New Orleans Saint for the foreseeable future. I think his teammates like him, the coaches like him, and they know the type of weapon that he is. And if you're a Saints fan and you still think that the Saints can do this with just anybody, I think that just look at these 5 games. Just look at these 5 games and look how stagnant the wide receiver group has been with Michael Thomas being out. So Michael Thomas showed how valuable he is without even taking a snap this season. So I think that pretty much killed that theory that Michael Thomas can be interchangeable, because he can't. Okay, he's not a guy that's expendable. He's not a guy that you can just change out and plug and play. Okay, this is not a light bulb. This is not a light switch. This is not a lamp. Okay, you plug in or you install any of those things. Whatever you have is going to work effectively. But when it comes to the wide receiver position, there's a reason why these guys get the respect that they get in the National Football League. Is because they showed over an extended amount of time that they deserve your respect. So Michael Thomas is definitely one of those wide receivers, and we Saints fans are lucky to have this guy. Tre'Quan is a solid receiver, just injury prone. Yeah, I agree with that. But the thing about it is, I don't even want to call him injury prone, because if you look at, I felt the same way. I want to be honest with you, Cruising. I felt the same way. But I had to look. And if you look at how many games he actually played in, he hasn't missed a lot of games in his career. It's just the fact that he's missed these games, and then when he's actually in, no disrespect to Tre'Quan, he hasn't really produced the way that we would want him to produce. So some of those games, you would think that he's hurt, but he's actually playing. I mean, I think like one year, I think he played 14 games, then another one 15, then another one 13. I'm like, wow, he played in all those games. So he's out there, but I just think that sometimes he can go missing. And because of that, we feel like he's not out there. So he does have little nagging injuries, but for the most part, he fights through them. So I will say that about him. But if you want to make an argument about him being, not being as busy as he should be when he plays, okay. But he is out there. But, is he producing the way that we want him to? Probably not. Trade for T-Rex. We ain't got no pressure from the D-line. Well, I don't think that Trey Hendrickson is going anywhere with the Bengals. He's having a really solid season. And I don't think the Bengals are going to give up on him. So good luck with that. Let's see. Nick Barnett will make a huge difference as well. He will block and allow, Troutman to get open and send 2 tight ends. Yeah, I mean, Nick Barnett is a very solid tight end. He's one of those blocking tight ends that can also catch the football and also can be a weapon at the goal line. But I think the Saints are really sitting on something with Juwan Johnson. I think that you can have like one of those dynamics with Jimmy Graham. Not so much when it comes to the red zone where, you throw the ball up, Jimmy won those 50-50 balls. But the fact that he's a wide receiver now, a wide receiver playing tight end, I think that, that can help him, and he can be a matchup nightmare to linebackers and even safeties in some cases. Jared says he can't wait till next Monday night in Seattle. Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that Monday night football game. I'm going to be honest with you. I am too. Carolina lost in overtime on Sunday. Yeah, they did, and that helped out the Saints, putting the Saints a half game ahead of them. But the Saints got to keep winning, man. Timing is most important. Yeah, timing is definitely most important. But it's good that the Saints are 3-2, getting some of their most important players back. You can't trade for T-Rex that new contract too much. That man ain't going nowhere. One thing about Mike T is he don't show his hand. Very private person. Yeah, that's true. Nobody really knows what he does to his exercise, his diet regimen. He really doesn't show anything about himself. Some people see him, tweeting rap verses and stuff like that. But for the most part, he's a quiet person. You really don't know that much about his life, besides the fact that maybe he'll troll a football player too once he played him or before he plays them. But I mean, even with that, man, he's been kind of quiet on social media, since that whole issue with Devontae Parker. So, I mean, honestly, maybe he probably felt, or maybe he had a conversation with somebody, felt like he was doing too much on social media, and maybe he just kind of tapered off a little bit. But he has not been on social media as much as he was when he was younger. Cam Jordan is on autopilot. Sean needs to put some pressure on him, and he talks a lot but shows nothing. I don't want to say he doesn't show anything. I think that he may not be showing things the way that we want him to show it. Like, he's not getting sacks. Okay, I think that if you want to say he's not getting sacks, I agree with you. Okay, he's not getting sacked. But as far as him stopping the run, containment, getting pressures, getting hurries, he's doing all those things. Those things just not equating to sacks. If he was putting the quarterback on the ground, then we'll talk about he's doing his job. But there's more to being a defensive end than just getting sacks. But everything else outside the realm of what the defensive end does, you know what I'm saying, or inside the realm of what the defensive end does, he does well. He's just not getting sacks. So for me to say that he's playing bad, I can't agree with that, because he leads the team in hurries, pressures, tackles for loss. So besides the sacks, that's the only thing that we can, you really got him with. I mean, do he need to get more pressure on the quarterback, get sacks? Absolutely. It's been a while since he got one. But for me to say that he's just completely irrelevant, or people to feel that he's completely irrelevant, I don't feel like that's necessarily true. Callaway will become a game changer once those two are back. Yeah, I agree. I just think that the road that he's in right now is one of the main reasons why he's not really showing, what he is. I just don't think that he is a starting number one wide receiver. So I just think that he's a 2, maybe a 3. You know what I'm saying? In most cases, but I don't think that he's one of those guys that you can just count on week after week to go over 100 yards. That's just not him. Not right now, at least. TJ, what do you think about getting Latavius Murray back in the building? I don't think that that's going to happen, Jonathan. I don't think that they're going to get Latavius Murray back. Number one, if I'm Latavius Murray, the way that I exit the New Orleans Saints organization probably going to be in the back of my mind. And number two, I mean, he's out there, being utilized in Baltimore probably more than what the Saints were using him. I mean, he's getting his fair share of carries out there. And the way that the Baltimore Ravens are structured, that he's going to get opportunities to run the football. He even had a touchdown on Sunday. So I don't think that the Saints are going to get him back. But, you're looking at Latavius Murray, he's in his 30s now. I think the Saints just need to find somebody that can complement Alvin Kamara. I think Devon Ozigbo is a really good running back. He showed a lot of promise when he was in training camp for the New Orleans Saints. He's been on the practice squad of the Jacksonville Jaguars on and off for the last couple years. But I think that he can be a good complementary back. And also Dwayne Washington. I just think that Dwayne Washington hasn't got the opportunities. Rather, it's, maybe Sean doesn't like his running style. Maybe the running back coach feels like he leaves a lot to be desired. I don't know exactly, but I do know when Dwayne Washington is in the game, rather it's garbage time, or even that game a couple years ago versus the Carolina Panthers when he rushed for 100 yards, he always seems to step up, and he's always leaning forward. So that's what you want. He gives you more positive yards than negative. So that's the best you can ask for. So the Saints have some guys. It's just a matter of them being utilized, and not to mention Taysom Hill with that H-back power back role that he has. We need more separation from wide receivers and more pressure from the D-line. Yeah, Royce. I mean, those are the two issues that plague the New Orleans Saints. Every other issue, they've been playing relatively well. The wide receivers, they should be able to get separation once Michael Thomas comes back. As far as the defensive line, Davenport coming back, Onyemata coming back. I'm interested to see if they're going to put Onyemata on the outside as well as the inside. I've seen this in preseason, him playing on the outside and, playing almost like a defensive end role. So I'm interested to see what the Saints use him in that capacity. And maybe that would be one of the things that can jumpstart the defensive line. The only reason I'm not talking about Davenport is because I got to see it consistently. Not to say that Davenport can't get the job done, not to say that he doesn't have it in him. I just need to see it on a consistent basis. It's hard for me to sit up here and say he's the answer to the problem when he's constantly hurt. Okay. I just don't feel like that's the answer, because even if it's a problem, how long is he going to solve the problem? You know, I mean, don't you feel like in the back of your mind it's just a matter of time before he goes down again? So it's hard for me to just say that all our problems are going to be over once Davenport gets back, because I'm wondering, is it going to solve the problem for a game, a couple of quarters, a half? You know, like, so I need to see a large sample size of this before I really get on the Marcus Davenport train. Even though Russell is out, don't overlook that Geno can carry them. These are professional football players. Deuce, you're absolutely right. I don't think that you should underestimate anybody. And I think that sometimes we as Saints fans, we fall into that trap. I can remember a couple of years ago, even this year, okay, but I'll start with a couple of years ago when the Saints played the Las Vegas Raiders. And the narrative was the Las Vegas Raiders offensive line, you know, they put it together basically with glue and tape. You know what I'm saying? Like they were just kind of plugging and playing, you know, and we thought that, you know, the Saints defensive line was going to go out there and eat, and it was going to be sack lunch, but they did not get pressure on Derek Carr at all. He was able to do what he needed to do, and he dominated using Darren Waller in that game. Fast forward to this season, when Carolina was dealing with some offensive line issues, we thought that the Saints were going to once again generate some sack lunches, and that didn't happen. They end up getting steamrolled for the most part by the Carolina Panthers, and they barely even got to Sam Darnold at all. So you can't always look at, you know, the quarterback's out, the running back's out, the wide receivers out, and just think that this team doesn't have a game plan. I mean, look no further than what the Saints are actually going through. You don't think teams that fans of teams are probably looking at the Saints? Oh, no Michael Thomas, you know, no Tre'Quan Smith, Drew Brees retired. Oh, they got Jameis. Oh, he throws interceptions all over the place. You don't think that they are probably believing, you know, the same things that we actually believe about their team, and we still go out there as a prideful bunch and they go out there and win games or play really competitively. And it's going to be the same way with the Seattle Seahawks. That's a prideful team over there. For the most part, they're a well-coached team. And so I don't expect for the New Orleans Saints to just, you know, get off the bus at Seattle just to be quivering in their boots, so to speak, and just think that the Saints are just going to steamroll them and there's nothing they can do about it. They got just as much pride in that Seattle Seahawks locker room as the Saints have in their locker room. And if they're not careful, they can lose this football game. Once, just like Duke said, these are professional players. So don't forget that. Who That Talking says Pete Warner might be the starter after the bye, even with Quan, in my opinion. He's played well. Well, I mean, that was the route that I would go. Even though, you know, Quan Alexander came back relatively fast from an Achilles injury. Me personally, I don't think the Saints are saying this, but I think that those games that he missed probably was to try to get him back close to 100% as they possibly can with that injury. Now, they're talking about him having a hand issue. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, it was a hand issue or something like that, but you look at somebody, you know, I guess you have to look at the severity of the injury, but I just think that it has a lot more to do with the Achilles injury. You don't want to rush a guy like that back, and you don't have to rush him back, especially since you look at how well Pete Warner is playing right now. Now, it's a good problem to have. You can have Quan come in there as a rotation guy, you know what I'm saying, until he actually gets back to full strength or where you need him to be. But it's good to know that you don't have to rush him back. But I think both guys are going to be playing a substantial amount of snaps, and the Saints are lucky to have both guys. Need Lutz back more than receivers. Yeah, you definitely do, man. It hasn't gotten to a point where it has cost the New Orleans Saints. It's not like how it was with Blankenship, poor guy, with the coach, you know. But we don't want it to get to that point, right? I mean, I agree with you, Jamie. You don't want this to be an issue down the line. But at the same time, I don't want them to rush Will Lutz back. We can hope and we can pray and we can want him back as badly as possible. But I'd rather have Will Lutz at 100%, especially if you want to make a playoff run. We know that this guy's capable of winning games with his leg. We know that he has a powerful leg, and we just want to make sure that he's at 100%. Okay, so you get some guys out there, you execute offensively, and you try to stay ahead of the curve, man. So you won't have to rely on these kickers to win you a football game. And as long as they do that, I mean, let's just keep winning until he gets back, where it won't be an issue, and we don't have to look for these new guys to come in and be praying and hoping that they can kick the ball between the uprights in order for us to get a victory. Kim says, Royce Lay, I'm glad we already had that slip-up game, so you know a 0-3 team can beat you. Yeah, I just think that they underestimated the Giants, justifiably so. I mean, the Giants aren't a very good football team. I mean, they have their spurts, but they're not a very good football team. They're a prideful team. They play tough, but they're not a good football team. So that was definitely one of those games. If the Saints don't end up making the playoffs, they're gonna look back and be like, man, if we would have won this game right here. Katrina says, I think the Saints need a power running back. It's too risky putting Taysom in the mix. Now, that I do agree with, Katrina. I think that the Saints may want to look at a power back in the draft, or they want to look at a guy, maybe in free agency next year. I do feel like they need themselves a power back, a sledgehammer type back, a guy that's kind of physical that can get you, that yard, those 2 yards. But, as of right now, you have Taysom Hill, and I don't think that he'll be complaining, him being in that particular role, knowing that Jameis is the starting quarterback and you're getting opportunities to actually play. And not to mention, I'm pretty sure his contract entails him being in that role. I'm pretty sure there's some type of incentive for Taysom when he does play H-back or when he does play tight end. I don't think that he's just getting quarterback money, based on him being a quarterback. I just think that there are probably some incentives inside of his contract when he plays those other positions. So if you're not going to be the starting quarterback, you're not going to be the guy under center game in, game out, you might as well get a couple extra little bits of commission on your check, for playing these other roles. And he's done a good job. So I don't think too many people are complaining about that. I already read that one, but thank you, Katrina. I appreciate that comment. Kim says one more game and Big O is back. The pass rush will get better. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what David Onyemata going to do when he comes back. Also, I want to thank – I've just seen a donation here. This is from Austin. Thank you very much for being a supporter and for the $5. He says, it's time we start giving Jameis his credit. This man has single-handedly brung back our quick strike offense. Jameis out here crushing souls. Look, Jameis is doing a good job, all things considered. I don't have a problem with Jameis at all. I just think that the issue that people have with Jameis is probably he's not Drew Brees, but it's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? He's not, arguably one of the greatest passers of the football when it comes to accuracy. And he's, he's not, he's not Drew. I mean, he's not going to be Drew. I don't see him ever being Drew. I just think that a lot of Saints fans, they're just used to great quarterback play. Right? I mean, you didn't have to worry about the quarterback for years. So everything that he does is under the microscope. He's being critiqued constantly. But I think that he's a really good quarterback, all things considered. This is a very complex offense that he had to learn. I think that if it wasn't for that year that he set down, he'll probably be way further behind the 8 ball than he is right now. So I think that he's doing a good job, all things considered. The fact that you really don't have a number one receiver out there, the fact that, you're playing with a bunch of guys that are mostly role guys, and you're still trying to, you're still 3-2 at this particular point. You don't have a lot of quarterbacks that can do that. They need elite talent around them in order for them to succeed. The fact that he does not have elite talent at the wide receiver position, but yet he has a really good touchdown to interception ratio is a testament to how good he can and is, how good he can be and how good he is as of right now. So anybody that may feel a certain way about him, just look at it from that point. He doesn't even have like some of the best players on at the wide receiver position, and he's still out there handling his business. That's the best you can ask for. Austin also says Jameis just throw a 72-yard touchdown and a Hail Mary at the end of the half for another touchdown, and nobody's talking about this man's heroics. When was the last time as a Saints fan have you seen plays like these? No, we haven't seen them in a long time. That is true. And, I do feel like, look, I was having a conversation with somebody and they made a good point. I was talking about Patrick Mahomes. Talking about Patrick Mahomes' last 50, I want to say 11 games or 15 games. He had like 15 interceptions. And my argument was, if Jameis had 15 interceptions in 15 games, I mean, would you imagine what the narrative would be? Everybody would be criticizing this guy and talking about how bad he is as a quarterback and how he stinks and how he's never going to be a good quarterback. He's a first overall pick and he didn't live up to expectations. It's the narrative that's going on and on. But, someone emailed me and, shouts out to him. They've been on the show quite a few times. And, they said to me, they say, well, Jameis is a quarterback, that he has to, break the narrative of what people thinks about him. And it comes over an extended amount of time, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to have consistent good play. It can't be like spurts of good plays. You know what I'm saying? It got to be you leading a team to the playoffs. It's got to be you being in an MVP conversation. It got to be you putting up a really good, solid season in order for people to change the narrative about you. Patrick Mahomes is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl MVP, league MVP. Saying one of the best throwers of the football that are out there. So he has a few skins on the wall where people can actually look past that. Now, here it is. Here's the caveat. Is it fair? No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel like people make exceptions to the rules every now and then, right? It's almost like if you have that kid, right, that does all the right things more times than not. You know what I'm saying? They always come home when you tell them to come home. They're always doing their homework. They always make good grades. And, you know what I'm saying? Overall, they're a good kid, and they rarely ever give you any problems. Then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, they do something that, that's not pleasing to you, right? And, I don't want to say you want to look the other way. It will probably bother you, but not as much. You would probably just look at, oh, they just made a mistake. I'm pretty sure they learned from it. They're not going to do it again, okay? Because the kid has enough skins on the wall to say, man, I'm raising an overall really good kid here that can make really good decisions. But let's go ahead and flip the kid that's always in trouble. You know what I'm saying? You always got to be looking for him. You always got to have your phone ring on because you don't know if the school is going to call because, they always in trouble. You're not going to allow that kid any type of wiggle room at all because this kid is giving you a lot of problems and you feel like, oh, I give him wiggle room, then, he's going to go on and take a mile with it. So I just think that it's two different scenarios here. One guy has proven that he can win at a high level and is putting up really good yards and really good stats and has won on the highest level, one of the highest achievements. And the other guy is really, is really good, but really known how good he can possibly be. So I can understand that. But on the other hand, I don't feel like it's fair. I feel like if a guy struggles, no matter if they do have skins on the wall, you should still be able to talk about it. It should still be able to be addressed. You still be asking the questions, what's going on with that guy? So in that regards, I don't feel like it's fair, but I understand why people say the things that they do. So I want to give a special shout out to the person that DM'd me and said that because that was a really good point. My point was more focused on what the media and what their narratives are, but that was an interesting point that they made. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to Jonathan. Jonathan says, I have to say, TJ, our secondary has looked better since the last few years. Not to say that they did their worst, but I've seen some big changes and looking for the ball once in the air. Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with Chris Richard being the secondary's coach, Jonathan. I have a lot of respect for Chris Richard. Sometimes those coordinators don't get the attention that they deserve unless they're offensive and defensive coordinator. Not so much the skill position guys. The skill position coaches don't really get that much recognition, but he's a really good coach, and I think that he's going to be a head coach one day. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Saints are getting turnovers. I don't think it's a coincidence that there's a downtick in the pass interference calls. You don't really see too many pass interference calls on the deep passes. We know normally when we're watching a football game for the Saints and a quarterback is back to pass and we see him going deep and the camera slowly tracks the ball down the field. We're just praying and hoping that those guys got their head turned around. They don't get a pass interference call. But when it comes to Chris Richard, he really has these guys playing really well. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they're getting turnovers. I don't think it's a coincidence that you're seeing Marshawn Lattimore play the best football he's played probably as a pro. I don't think it's a coincidence that you have a young kid like Paulson Adebo who has a severe case of amnesia after bad plays. I think that has a lot to do with Chris Richard being on the coaching staff. And I think this guy should get a lot more credit than people are giving to him. I think as Saints fans, I think we understand because we follow the team and we see the night and day approach of this secondary. But, looking at Chris Richard and knowing what he brings to the table, following him and seeing the secondary and how they played from last year to this year, you got to say he is the key ingredient to that success. But I want to take a moment. I want to thank the fine folks at Manscaped.com, the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. It says, do you know what's spookier than seeing a black hat on Halloween? It's shaving your balls. That's right. With anything other than Manscaped. When it comes to below the waist grooming, there's no need to carve your pumpkin this Halloween without Manscaped. It's how to upgrade your grooming experience. Great for a bite-sized candy bar to a king-size candy bar, and join the 2 million men worldwide by going to manscaped.com and using the promo code State of Saints to save 20% off. Now, thank you to the fine folks at manscaped.com. We've been with them for almost a year here on the State of Saints podcast, and I'm extremely proud to be, working with them. They have some really good products, and I enjoy their products, man. They got good, solid products. And shouts out to everybody that used the promo code that hits me up and says, TJ, I really enjoy the product. They really do a good job. So if you want to save 20% off and try some of the Manscaped products, go to manscaped.com, use the promo code State of Saints. And also for all the people that play DraftKings, if this is your first time, you want to try DraftKings, if you use the promo code TPPN, you will get a gift from them. If you use $1, all you have to do is invest $1 and they'll give you a $100 credit. Okay, so you can bet on any game. Okay, using $1, they will give you a $100 credit if you use the promo code TPPN. So shouts out to the Pigskin Podcast Network, DraftKings, and the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast, which is Manscaped. So let's get back to the comments. I've been strolled down once again. And go to J-Rock. J-Rock, thank you very much for $5. Says, TJ, what are your thoughts about the Saints making a move to get Mark Ingram back in the building? I think that I would love to see Mark Ingram back. I would like to see him back in the locker room. I think that Mark Ingram is a really solid running back still at this stage. I think that he still has a lot more tread on the tires because the Saints threw the ball so much. But I would like to see Mark Ingram back. I don't know if we will see Mark Ingram back in a Saints uniform, for the exception of maybe him retiring, getting a one-day contract. But if the Texans are willing to trade him and the Saints can get their hands on him for a reasonable price, I see why not. I mean, he's still running the ball aggressively. He's still out here, getting a good yards per carry average. So why not? Chris, thank you very much for the $1. And JT says, let me see, why not sign MR? I'm not sure who we talking about. I don't know if we talking about Mark Ingram or someone else. So you got to tell me, JT, who is MR? Man, I love what I see out of Paulson Adebo, the young player. Don't let things get under him. Well, that's the best way to be as a cornerback. A cornerback is a very complicated position to play. And, it's probably the most scrutinized and criticized position outside of quarterback and maybe the offensive line. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those positions where a guy really gets more criticism than he does praise. I mean, it's just the truth. If you have to be an elite cornerback for somebody to really constantly sing your praises. It's rather you got to be putting up like a Trey Diggs type season, something that Marshawn Lattimore has been doing. You really got to do stuff like that. Solid cornerbacks don't really get the attention that they actually deserve. And it falls into that category as a quarterback. When a quarterback is not playing well, or offensive lineman is playing well. So you have to have that ability to have that amnesia. You got to be able to let that play go if you give up a big play. You got to be able to relinquish that out of your mind and continue to play. And one thing about Paulson Adebo that I feel like is going to help him in his future is his ability to do that. I mean, some guys, they let those big plays get to them, and they become a prisoner of their own thoughts. And when that happens, they're already losing. So for him to continue to play well after giving up big plays, don't let that stuff get to him. It's a testament to the type of stuff that he's built with, and it also is a testament to the Saints coaching staff doing their due diligence to know the type of player that they actually drafted. LMAO at the Manscaped ad. Yeah, man, that was pretty funny. Yeah, that's the script that they actually sent over, man. So the thing about Manscaped is, they come up with these catchy, these catchy ads and scripts, referring to guys, testicles, so to speak, but they do a really good job. Their money, a lot of their proceeds go to testicular cancer research. So it's not only when you go out here and you purchase some of these products, you're actually you're actually going towards a good cause, man. Because I mean that is the lead that's the leading cancer in men. You know what I'm saying, around the world. So for them to be putting their money towards that type of research, I mean they're a really solid company. So let me scroll back up just a little bit more. Drew says, "LOL, love the Manscaped commercial in here. Sucking this fans know the treatment coming." Let's see. Why not Mr. Rashard to multiple years? Refresh my memory, man. Refresh my memory. Trey's talking about a sweep. I guess we talking about the Buccaneers here. I said we should have brought back Mark Ingram before he signed with the Texans. Well, I don't know if the Saints actually were going to sign him or not. I don't know. I don't know if they had conversations with him or not. Wouldn't surprise me if they did. Man, I lost $80 on DraftKings because of that Raiders game last night. Well, that's why you need to use the promo code, man, TPPN, and you get that $100 credit, man. You get the $100 credit. So if you lost some money, man, you gain that $100 by using the promo code. Great app though. I still use it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people use DraftKings, they're really satisfied with it. TJ, do you think the Saints will have enough film on Geno to put together a great game plan against him? Probably not. The only game that you can have is you have to go back to the Jets, right? And also probably a little bit with the Chargers and the game that came on last night. But besides that, I mean, it's not much, that you can actually build on. The best thing for you to do is come up with a game plan, be confident in your game plan, and be willing to make the adjustments going forward, okay? Because you may not know what they're going to bring to the table, but you have to be able to understand his concepts. The offensive concepts, his tendencies, and if you can do that, you'll be just fine. I definitely agree with getting Ingram back. Yeah, it would be good to have Mark Ingram back. I don't know if the Texans will be willing to give him up, but hey, I mean, it's a fire sale over there right now. I think they want that number one pick, but they'll never see it. Ninth Ward, Philly Field. Once Michael Thomas gets back and the team and the rest of them that's out hurt come back, it's going to be a problem for the rest of the teams that they play. Well, I hope you're right, Phil. But I mean, it's going to help, but the Saints are going to have to execute. Okay, they got to execute. There's a lot of good teams that they're going to be playing down the stretch, and if they don't execute, and some of the things that they did earlier in the season, they're not going to be able to get away with when they play elite competition. The defense has been doing a great job at keeping the play in front of them, secondary especially. I believe will be a top 5 at the end defense, that is. Well, look, I hope that they are a top defense. I hope they continue to win games. And if the defense is on an uptick, if the Saints make the playoffs, hopefully they can bring that type of momentum into the postseason. They can really make a run of this, man. Manscaped out here wilding with that ad. Yeah, man. Look, they always come up with those catchy ads. I'm telling you, man. They always do. Davis Mills has been impressive, I must say, though. Yeah, Davis Mills, I mean, look, guy went to Stanford. Know you're a smart player. You can't go to Stanford being, a moron. All right. So I just think that, once you get those nerves out of there, you know what I'm saying? Once you take that first official NFL hit, the game starts to slow down for you. The more experience that you get, you become better. Do I feel like, he's going to lead those guys to the playoffs? No. Okay. But I do feel like there's something that they can actually build on. And I like his demeanor, man. I'm not saying that he is Andrew Luck, because he is not, but his demeanor reminds me that of an Andrew Luck. Not the arm talent, but his demeanor. How do you feel, how do you think Ken Crawley will fit in since he is coming back? Well, I think that he'll be a part of the secondary rotation. He showed that he can play. I think that he's going to get some playing time, and but I don't think that he's going to be in that starting rotation. I do think that he's probably going to fall in, come in on a few packages. I don't feel like they're going to move Paulson Adebo. I don't feel like they're going to move Bradley Roby. The best time I feel like he will actually get that opportunity, and I knock on wood when I say this, if somebody that is in that secondary goes down for a few games, which I don't want. So he can be a part of the rotation. I think that he'll be just fine in that role. And he did a really good job in training camp, man. TJ, why do you guys want Mark Ingram back here when Peyton will just misuse him? Well, look, I think it's mostly for nostalgia purposes. But I think that people enjoyed Mark Ingram. I mean, towards the tail end of his Saints career. I mean, the lights started to come on. The first couple of years Mark Ingram was in the Saints uniform, there was I don't want to say a love-hate, but I'm saying a love-frustration relationship between Saints fans and Mark Ingram. But the last, I say about 3-4 years he was with the New Orleans Saints, that's when the lights started to come on. And people love themselves some angry Mark Ingram, right? So I just think that there's a nostalgia aspect to it. But there's also the fact that he is 31, going on 32 years old in December. And, he has enough left in the tank where he can be a formidable running back. I think that we all can agree that Alvin Kamara is the bell cow back. He's the running back. He's the starter. But to get somebody that can be a change of pace, a guy that can fight for that first down, a guy that can fight for those extra yards, not afraid to drop the shoulder and really be aggressive running the football, I think that he fits that mold. I mean, he's not that running back that he once was, that he can carry the ball 15, 20 times a game, 25 times a game. I just think that he's a guy that can be a good change of pace back, that can come in a game if you need a play, you need some extra yards, you need somebody to, give Alvin Kamara a breather. I think he'll be just fine. I mean, he's used to it now. I'm saying? He did it with Baltimore. He's doing it now with Houston. So why not? And I don't feel like it would be an issue for him, because the relationship between he and Alvin Kamara, Alvin Kamara was the young rookie when Mark Ingram was here. He took him under his wing. He showed him and taught him how to be a pro, how to be a professional. So I just think that it will be his way of kind of returning a favor to Alvin Kamara to back him up and support him the way that Alvin Kamara supported Mark when he was the starter. So I don't think that would be an issue at all. TJ, I need Cam Jordan to play like an elite pass rusher he is. Brandon, look, Father Time is undefeated. That's the best thing I can tell you. It's undefeated, and it's going to continue to be that way. Cam Jordan is not what he used to be, okay? Look, I'm sorry, it is what it is, all right? I'm not saying that he's slow. I'm not saying that he washed. I'm not saying that he can't play anymore. I'm saying that he's not the same player he once was. He is 32 years old. I mean, he's not that spring chicken he was when he came out of University of California. He's not that guy, that was giving you double-digit sacks when he's in the prime of his career. This is a guy going into the twilight of his career, and it's showing. So I do understand where people expect him to be that leader, to be that sack leader on the team. I get all that, but I just think that people that just think that this guy is going to be the same way he was when he's 23 or 22, when he's 32, I just think that's wishful thinking. But I want to give a special shout out to Chosen, because he hit the nail on the head when he called in last Sunday, when he talked about, I think people, beat up on Cam Jordan, but they're not realizing how much production Cam Jordan has given his team. I mean, never missing a football game. Think about this, man. Like, we never had to have conversations about Cam Jordan not being in the lineup like we do with Davenport. Like we've done early with Peyton Turner. We haven't, even with Tano Passanio. We never have to worry if number 94 is going to be on the field, because he is always out there. So for that, I give him credit in itself. And can you imagine how many snaps that this guy is taking? Like he takes about 94 to 95% of the snaps. It was even more than that when he was younger. So for him to be on the field as often as he is, every single down for the most part, and for him to never get hurt, him to still be leading the team in tackles for loss, him still to be leading the team in quarterback hurries and pressures, I just think that we just need to give this guy the benefit of the doubt. I feel like we look at this guy as being the player that he once was, but he's not. Okay, it is what it is. If Cam Jordan was out there doing absolutely nothing, then I feel like it would be a problem. Like if he wasn't leading in some statistical category that you need a defensive end to lead in, then I think it would be a different conversation. But I do feel like he still has something left in the tank. I just don't feel like he's the same player he once was when he was younger. And I say this all the time. If you live long enough, for all my young viewers out there, you're not going to be the same person you was in your youth. Okay, you're not. Once you get older, things start to change. Like your instincts start to slow down just a tad bit. Your reflexes start to slow down a tad bit. I mean, it's just a way of life, man. And there's nothing really you can do about it. You can exercise as much as you want to. You can, you can eat all the right things as much as you want to. It's not going to change. You know what I'm saying? It's just the way that it goes sometimes. And it's no fault of anybody. Just like I don't think it's any fault of Cam Jordan's. Alfred says, TJ, you remember we actually lost to Geno a couple of years ago? Didn't they come back on us when he used when he was with the Jets? Yeah, but that had a lot to do with Chris Ivory, man. That was a Chris Ivory revenge game right there. Chris Ivory was out there, man, tearing the Saints up. But yes, Geno Smith was a part of that team. But I mean, the Saints defense was just god awful, Alfred. God awful. What do you think about Madden 22? I think that Madden 22 is Madden 21 with an updated roster. Okay, unless you have like a Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, maybe you get some different graphics or something like that. I mean, I'm still living in Stone Age over here with an Xbox One. But if you have Xbox One or PlayStation 4, pretty much the same game, and Madden has been getting away with that, in my opinion, for years. All right. I mean, it's time for somebody to say that. They the only game in town, and they make their games like they're the only game in town. Cam Jordan may not have sacks now, but just wait till he plays the Falcons. He loves Matt Ryan. That is true. He definitely loves Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is definitely a good friend of his, and is definitely a guy that he uses to get back right. Every team has good and bad games, unlike most people. I remember back in the day when Saints fans wore paper bags on their head. Now, no matter how bad of a game they have, they're a really good team. Drew, and that's what I was talking about on Big Q's show, the Sports Coma. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to Big Q's show, Sports Coma. I was talking about that. I talked about, as older Saints fans, like we can remember like some of the tough times with the team, and the things that people may consider bad or terrible or just god awful in 2021, we have something that we can relate to. And we can say, well, you think this bad? I mean, you can go back and probably talk about how the Saints started off 4-0 with Wade Wilson. And everybody was all excited, think the Saints going to make a playoff run, and then they lost 4 straight. Then they ended the season with 8-8. You know what I'm saying? And you like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It can be worse. All right. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, we got to be careful with that too. Just because we remember the tough times doesn't mean that this team doesn't, this team doesn't deserve criticism from time to time. I'm a huge Saints fan. I love the Saints, born and raised in New Orleans. Remember the good times, remember the bad times. But I mean, there's a lot of things that happen with this team that is subject to criticism. And I don't feel like I'm any less of a fan because, I'm critiquing a really good football team, even though I can remember some of those tough times in which they weren't so good. So I do remember those times. But, when you start to win, Drew, expectations comes, right? You know what I'm saying? Like spoiled fans come. We expect for this team to win. We expect for them, no matter what the situation is, who they're playing against, no matter if the team comes in red hot or they come in chilly cold. We expect for these teams to come in and lose to the New Orleans Saints because we feel like the Saints can beat anybody. So it comes with expectations. And even though we remember those tough times, I think those tough times can help us understand that maybe things aren't as bad as they seem. But at the same time, we still need to, you got to keep this team on the up and up. We can't just say, oh, man, this team was terrible back in the day, so I'm going to give them a pass. I don't think it needs to work like that. The last thing, thank you very much for the $10, says, salute to you, TJ. I rock with you and Big Q. Are you guys going to get back together to cover the Deontay Fury fight? Yeah, we probably will, man. He said that he's going to invite me onto the boxing podcast. Big Q does a boxing podcast as well, so I would love to get back on there, get on there with him and talk a little bit about boxing. Yeah, man, I would love to, man. I like collaborating with Big Q. I'm definitely going to get him on the show in the next couple of weeks here on the State of the Saints podcast to get his thoughts on the Saints team as a staff, organization, and mother-loving crew. Definitely going to give him back, man. So definitely want to get on there, talk about boxing as well. Got some big fights coming up for all the boxing fans out there. So we'd love to talk about that and, chop it up with Big Q. Night War Philly Field, Mark Ingram, to me, would be a big plus for the Saints if they can get him back. I agree. I agree with that. And I think that everybody would love Mark Ingram. I think that he would be a great addition to the team. I'm going to read a few more comments, then we're going to get up out of here, folks. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you all for donating. And to those that hit the like button and the subscription button, thank you all so much as well. Nola Baby Kevin says, hey, TJ, I'm currently reviewing Saints videos on David Onyemata, and its impact is paramount. Cam is doing extremely well this year, but if you see Cam with David and the two together, unstoppable. Well, there are some guys that are complementary. I'm saying? It's almost like Freeney and Mathis, but these guys, they used to play on opposite sides of one another. But there are some situations where, guys play well off one another. But I just think that Cam Jordan, people equate success from a defensive end position based on sacks. Like, if you're not getting a whole bunch of sacks, then they feel like you're not doing your job well. And I can understand that, right? You know what I'm saying? Your job is to get pressure on the quarterback, put him down on the ground. And we've seen Cam do this for so many years. And now we're wondering to ourselves what in the world is going on with him. But, like I said, I would have an issue if Cam Jordan wasn't doing anything at all. I mean, statistically, he's still in the team in other categories. And it's not like every other defensive end on the team is just lighting it up except for Cam. Like, none of them are really doing anything, and nobody's knocking anybody's socks off. I mean, every quarterback, for the most part, has time to knit a sweater and drink a cup of coffee in the pocket before they deliver the ball to their receiver when the Saints are trying to get pressure on them. So, I mean, it's not just Cam, it's the whole group. Unfortunately, the Murray we got was not the Murray that played in Oakland. He did not get an upgrade with him. We were better with Mark. I don't know that, Phil. I really don't, man. I think that I want to be real with you. I think that it was Mark Ingram's personality more than, that made people feel like he was more valuable than Latavius Murray. Like, I think that if Latavius Murray had the type of personality of Mark Ingram, I think that people wouldn't have more issues with him. Look, this ain't my first rodeo, man. Like, this ain't my first rodeo. I understand how Saints fans work. We like approachable, larger than life characters. We like that. You know what I'm saying? We like that about players. We like that Cam is zany and funny. We like the AK is kind of like easy going. You know what I'm saying? We like the fact that Jameis, is a little animated and makes us laugh during his interviews. We like the fact that Taysom goes in there and drop a shoulder as a quarterback. So there's like certain characters that we actually, and even with CJ Garner-Johnson, just his, just his goonish type mentality. And I don't feel bad about calling him a goon, because when I called him a goon, on social media, he liked it. So, so anyway, it's just the personalities. And I think we fall in love with the personalities, and the personality coincides with the play. And because the personality is up here and they give you, okay production, we feel like, man, we had the best. But I like Latavius Murray. I think Latavius Murray was a really good running back for the Saints. I think that he averaged about 4 or 5 yards a clip when he came into the game. He was getting first downs. He ran the ball really well when Alvin Kamara was out, when he was injured. The stretch when he had 159 yards from scrimmage. Like a lot of the plays he was coming in cold. He'll get you about 12 to 20 yards. I can remember him running 33 yards, 35, 40-yard touchdowns, against Denver. So he was productive, But the thing about it was he was not a starter. Okay, that's the difference. Mark Ingram was a starter. Mark Ingram was the starting running back of the New Orleans Saints, and that's something that a lot of people were missing. Alvin Kamara was the complementary back. Alvin Kamara came into the game and was extremely productive, and that was the main reason, people look at him as being a starter, but he wasn't. And we have to understand this too, that Alvin Kamara was going to get the majority of the snaps because of his contract. It is what it is, folks. People are not going to allow valuable toys to sit on the shelf and collect dust if they paid $100, $200 for it. Okay, we're going to make this thing go to work. We're going to be recharging batteries 3 and 4 times. We're going to get our money worth out of you. Okay, so I don't think that Latavius Murray was as bad as people make him out to be. I think that he was solid for a backup running back. Keyword on his backup running back. Okay, if he was out here taking the world by storm, dominating, he would not have been a backup running back. I had the same conversation with my brother. Shout out to my brother Sam. I had this conversation with him a couple months ago, and he was saying some of the same things, man. Like me and him had a really 2-hour conversation, and he was talking about how Latavius Murray leaves a lot to be desired. And I was like, well, it depends on how you're looking at it, right? It's almost like you're putting a spare tire on your car. Like, you don't expect a spare tire to perform well as a Bridgestone tire. Shout out to Bridgestone. You don't expect for it to perform like that, right? It's just for you to get where you need to be, right? To the next tire shop, to the used tire shop, or wherever you go to get your tire in order for it to get replaced, all right? His job was to come in to alleviate the pressure off the running game alleviate the pressure from Alvin Kamara. Let him get some Gatorade in the system, or electrolytes, whatever he got going on over there, some juicy fruit, some smelling salt, or whatever. That man be killing that smelling salt. But anyway, that was his job. So I think the way you look at it, man, look, if you're looking at him to be the top running back, then yeah, you got me. But for being a backup running back, look pretty damn good to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm serious, man. Like, he looked pretty good to me. And that's all you want, he's a backup. Cam doing a lot, even not let me say that again. Cam doing a lot, even though he's not getting sacks, stopping outside runs, taking away the edge, his pursuit on halfback screen. New Orleans Saints, thank you very much. That is absolutely true. Okay. Like I said, we have this mind frame in which if a defensive end is not getting double-digit sacks, breaking sack records, he's not useful. If he's not going to get to the quarterback, I'd rather him get tackles for loss. I'd rather him set the edge. I'd rather him be somewhere in the vicinity when a quarterback throws the ball, and he's doing that. Okay, so as long as you do that, eventually, it's going to equate to sacks. Brandon Cooks needs to come back to the Saints. We want the whole band together. We want David Ruffin. We want Paul Williams. We want Eddie Kendrick. We want them all to come back, right? Look, I like those guys as New Orleans Saints players. I really did, man. I would love to see Brandon Cooks come back. I would love to see Mark Ingram come back, put the band together. But here's the reality, man. It's not always going to happen that way. It's not always going to be the way that we want it to go. All I know is what the Saints have right now, they can win with. Wide receiver wise, okay? Once Mike T comes back, Tre'Quan Smith, I really like Kenny Stills. I think that he's going to get much better as time progresses. I like Marquez Callaway. Deontay Harris is explosive. I like the wide receiver group, okay? I just think that we're having these issues because some key guys are out. Those two guys that are behind me right now put up a lot of production over the years for the New Orleans Saints. And they're also key components to what the Saints can do well when it comes to running the football, when it comes to getting other guys open. When you have those two guys missing, Of course, there's going to be a void inside of the offense, but that doesn't mean that you have to go out here and solve problems by getting guys into the locker room that we are familiar with. Okay, we know those guys can play. Those guys put up some really good numbers with the Saints. Those guys were really valuable when they were here. But I mean, I think that we'll be just fine once those two guys come back. Chosen, thank you very much for the $4.99. Says TJ, we need a SOTS funny moment. Feel like when homie went to sleep during the show. Yeah, man. Look, that definitely was funny. And yeah, man, he actually, God Creation actually called back the following week, man. So he doing just fine, man. Yeah, so shouts out to him, man. And also, man, shouts out to Ghostface Griller, man. Ghostface Griller, y'all know him. He usually pops up. His father unfortunately passed away not too long ago, which is one of the main reasons he hasn't really been on lives. So Ghostface Griller, just want to let you know we thinking about you, bro. I know you're gonna probably catch this podcast a little later. My prayers go out to you as well as your family during this tough time, man. You know, I mean, it's tough to lose a family member, but just know, man, you have a bunch of family members here, man, that love you as well, man, and miss you when you ain't here, man. So shouts out to Ghostface Griller, man. You're in my prayers, my friend. Brian says, TJ, who you starting, P. Warner or Quan? As of right now, I will go with P. Warner and just kind of slowly bring Quan Alexander back. I think that the momentum that P. Warner is having, you don't want to stunt that, okay? Okay, so I think that you need to have him start. And it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have. Praying for your Ghostface. Yeah, man. Shouts out to him, man. Shouts out to him. No doubt about it. But thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Also, before I go, man, look, I gotta say this. I want to say rest in peace to General Colin Powell. Colin Powell passed away on today. Unfortunately, you know, he was 84 years old. He was the first African American Secretary of State. He was also the first Black Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. He was a history maker, man. And regardless to how you feel about him, you know what I'm saying, I don't get into those political things. Colin Powell is going to forever be embedded in history. You know what I'm saying? So he passed away on today, but his legacy is going to live on. So I just want to say to rest in peace to General Colin Powell. Just want to give a special shout out to Bridgestone. Bridgestone hooking me and my grandmother up. They sent some great items to the house. My grandmother is extremely excited about that. So shouts out to my grandmother. I know she's probably watching this right now. Just want to let you know I love you, and you know, hoping that you know you're getting stronger every day. I'm glad she hooks me. She hooks up YouTube and watches it on a big TV in her living room. So thank you, man. Thank you so much, grandmama, for for supporting me, supporting the New Orleans Saints. Been a card carrying member of the Who Dat Nation since 1967. I see my mom in the chat. Mom, thank you so much for checking out the show. Everybody that has commented, all those that have donated, thank you all so much for making this show what it is. Really enjoyed doing this show. Really enjoyed talking Saints football with you all. We're going to be back later on in the week to talk a little bit about some of the games that are going on in the NFL. I'm going to be covering the NFC South on the State of the Game podcast. Probably going to be the next podcast that I do. For all my swag fans out there, the State of the Swag podcast is available right now. I talked about swag week 7. So for all those that follow swag football, I mean, it's exciting right now, man. Some really good football teams that are playing right now. So if you're a fan of college football, HBCU football, State of the Swag is available on YouTube, Facebook as well. Previous episodes of the State of the Saints podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Subscribe to the channel. On your way out, hit that like button. Special shout out to the Pigskin Podcast Network, Manscaped, the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you all so much for supporting the show. Like always, till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?